Welcome to the latest episode of the Good Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum. Right, this afternoon we're not going to be looking at whisky. In fact, we're not even going to be looking at anything that has any remote connotation to barley or being distilled from grain or anything like that. We're looking at a completely different type of spirit, distilled from something other than grain. So what am I waffling on about? Well, we're going to look at mezcal. Now, I don't propose to be anywhere near an authority or particularly well versed in mezcal, tequila, that kind of thing. And I must admit, I've not tasted it very often at all, but I've tasted it a few times, and it can be pretty interesting stuff. Essentially, mezcal is a form of tequila, whereas I believe tequila is made from blue agave. Mezcal is made from another variety, maguey, I believe. I think I've pronounced that correctly. It's kind of it's an interesting spirit, it has to be said. I mean, it's obviously Mexican. It has a long history. Its history is traced way back to the Aztecs, in actual fact, and they would use it to get their in their ritual sacrifices. They'd get their sacrifice sloshed on it, so they'd got no idea what the hell was going on, and lead them up a ziggurat and do them in, basically. So I mean, it was a fairly rudimentary form of tequila, or to be honest with you, but it's kind of interesting stuff. It's the agave plant itself is a fairly spiky looking thing. I believe it's related to a cactus or something like that. But they harvest the heart of the plant. Quite a technical thing they do. They technically castrate it. So in doing so, it then allows the heart of it to fill up with carbohydrate. They then basically take this and either bake it in an oven, which they tend to do with mezcal, or they can basically heat it up using hot stones. Once it's gone through that phase, it's then pulped, which is generally done in quite a rudimentary way. And they sort of stick it in a kind of trough, for want of a better word, and use a horse to sort of lead a crushing stone around it, so it crushes it all up. It's then fermented, turned into a rough beer, and then goes through a distillation process, which can either be one or it can even be two distillations, depending upon the quality of the spirit that you want to achieve. So anyway, like I said, I mean, that's a really brief rundown on the spirit itself. So shall we have a look at the range that I'll be tasting today? Okay, so I've obviously got 3 samples in front of me, and these 3 samples are from a range called Illegal Mescal, which is quite an interesting play on words, it has to be said. Quite like the packaging, the labelling on the bottle. It's all very kind of sort of rusticy kind of look to it, so it's quite interesting. But of course, you should never judge a spirit on its packaging at all. It's all about the quality of what's in the bottle than what the bottle looks like, or the label looks like, or what have you. Anyway, this Illegal Mescal is all the brainchild of some chap called Stephen Myers. Don't know him personally, but apparently he spent some time working in a bar in Mexico, or somewhere down there anyway, and this bar had a back room where they sold tequila, and they'd go out and visit tequila producers or mezcal producers, as the case may be, with plastic bottles, fill it up, take it back, and sell the stuff. So sort of bootlegging, I guess. Anyways, eventually decided that he wanted to produce an interesting, or work with an interesting mezcal producer to produce and bottle his own range, which he has indeed now done so. So basically there's 3 in the range. You have a completely clear one, which is a Joven or a platter or silver or whatever you want to call it. I believe in this instance it's called the Joven. So it doesn't see any oak aging. It's pretty much as it comes off the still, and is broken down to 40% as all of the 3 samples are. This one is, let me just check that, is indeed, that is the reposado. The reposado sees a little bit of oak aging, approximately 4 months, so what you'd expect is adding obviously a little bit more oak character. And this one is the Anejo, which is aged for 13 months in oak. So again, you would expect to see what we'd expect to see is we expect to see the sort of the character of the raw spirit in the Anejo, and hopefully a sort of a development of that spirit, along with an addition of some oak character as we get on. So anyway, I guess that's enough waffle. So let's crack on and taste the Joven then, shall we? Right, okay, let's see what the nose of this gives us then, shall we? Now, I mean, the thing I like about tequila is that it has a very different character to whiskey, or indeed any other sort of spirit. It has a, I mean, yes, this has a sort of a youthfulness, and almost kind of oily, lightly mar kind of note, but being made from agave, it has this kind of real pulped fruit kind of character, which it certainly has quite an amount of it. Quite a little bit raw, shall we say, but I don't think that's in such a bad way. A little bit of smoke. It's got a nice kind of creaminess to it, sort of oily creaminess rather than sort of an oak creaminess. Yeah, I mean, it's nice and rounded. It's not too rough. Well, it's not rough at all in actual fact. I mean, like I said, it's got a bit of a rawness to it, but it's a sort of a controlled rawness, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's quite nice. Oh, then. That's nice. It's got a nice smokiness to it, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about this, is that I think if you like your peated whiskies, you would certainly get on with certainly with this range of mezcals anyway. A lot of peat, not peat, a lot of smoke, I should say. Almost peaty in actual fact. It's quite earthy. It's got a nice sweetness, nice pulped fruit sweetness. Some nice spices, a lot of pepper, really nice peppery finish. It's a little bit hot on the finish, and the alcohol is a little bit prominent, but I don't think that's it's certainly not lessening the enjoyment of tasting it, shall we say. So yeah, it's a pleasant. It's not overly complex, but it's got some nice, like I say, this pulped fruit kind of character, a nice softness, a little bit of peppery, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of a bite. Yeah, that's enjoyable. I like that. I mean, I don't know what the retail price of these are as yet, but they come in sort of 20, I think it's 20 or 50 cl bottles. I think it's 50, I think. So they're going to be relatively reasonably priced. So that's quite nice. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the reposado then. Like I said, so given 4 months in oak, it should have a little bit of oak character, and let's see how it's developed then, shall we? Yeah, the oak is definitely noticeable. It's got a nice creamy vanilla kind of character, but there's still got plenty of the sort of the pulp agave fruit. A little bit of smoke, a little bit of almost kind of iodine, I guess, almost quite oily, bit of linseedy sort of oil, but there's this almost kind of peated note, which is just quite intriguing, So I think certainly if you like varietals, this will certainly appeal to you. But a little bit of citrus. It's all quite nicely balanced. I think a little bit of pepper as well. But it's as time goes on and you give it more aeration. Initially, it's very much about the oak. You get this, like I said, you get the creamy oak vigilance first, but give it a bit of air, give it a bit of swirling around, and you certainly start to get the pulped agave fruit coming through. Yeah, that's appealing. I like that. Oh, it's got a peppery finish. A little bit more complexity, yeah. Like the nose, the creamy oak comes through first. With this, again, it's got a very iodine-y, slightly peated, smoky, quite smoky middle and finish to it. Lovely creamy agave fruit, a little bit of pepper, a little bit more depth, a little bit more intensity. Yeah, it's interesting to see what 4 months does to it. I mean, it actually gives it quite a lot of oak character. So it's obviously that they aged this in completely brand new casks. And as we know from looking at whiskies, the oak interaction initially is quickly absorbed into the spirit. Certainly in brand new casks, from bourbon and things like that. So yeah, that's really nice. I like that. It's really peppery. It's really long, and still just tasting all this pepper. It's like yeah. Right, okay, let's have a look at the Anejo. So this gets 13 months in oak. Let's see what this gives us then, shall we? Cool, that's quite pungent. It's more of that smokiness, more of that light iodine, touch of camphor maybe, bit of menthol. Again, quite a nice chunk of creamy oak. It's certainly filling out the nose. It's certainly getting a lot richer, a lot bigger, a lot creamier. But again, there's that sort of smokiness, a little bit maybe less of the pulped agave fruit, but it's certainly still there. I think sort of the oak is now starting to sort of become a more dominant factor, which as you would expect. And I think if you'd have left this in oak casks for another 6 to sort of 12 months, I think you would have certainly seen the spirit probably been pretty much crushed under the oak. But this is nice. This has got a real kind of, like I said, almost kind of like mentholy, camphory, almost medicinal note to it, which is really, really intriguing. Still, it's got some citrus. It's got some freshness to it as well. It's not sort of overly oaked, it's not gone flabby, you know, it's all really nicely balanced. I mean, I'm guessing this isn't going to be sort of like incredibly cheap, but you know, I think, yeah, that's nice. Really like that. Really complex. A lot going on. Balanced. Ooh, that's nice. That's got some bite on the finish. Pretty much like the nose in actual fact. It's again a lot of rich, decadent, creamy oak. Getting more of the agave fruit now though than I did on the nose. And it's just got this wonderful pepperiness. Not quite as fresh as the Anejo, the reposado, but then obviously that extra oak sort of aging is kind of like polishing, rounding it off. And yeah, that's great. That is really nice, really enjoyable. Got an amazing smoky finish. And like I said, you know, it's almost kind of iodine-y, sort of medicinal, camphory kind of character, and you know, that would certainly you know, appeal to those of you that like your Islay malts. So so yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's nice. Right, okay, so let's sum up this this little tasting. So, Illegal Mescal. Well, it's not really illegal, but you know, it's a great play on words. It's kind of nice, isn't it? It's good that it's good. I mean, you know, if it had been, you know, a poor quality spirit, it would have been sort of like, you know, you could accuse it of being all kind of advertising and, you know, all that kind of frippery, should we say, rather than being a good spirit. But you know, hats off. You know, he certainly knows his spirit. He's chosen some, you know, some well-made spirit, and I think, you know, each of these individual bottlings has something you know, to give. You know, I think for those of you that sort of, you know, like your sort of peated malts, you'd probably end up sort of, you know, having more of a preference, I guess, for the Anejo. Certainly, it seems to me that the smokiness gets more intense with a little bit of age, and you know, with the oak as well. I guess, like most of these kind of things, you know, there are people that sort of, you know, think there's wonderful cocktails and what have you to be made, but you know, as you know, I'm kind of more of a purist with my alcohol. I just want to taste it with nothing added, and you know, I think this is a nice range, and I certainly would be adding this to the Gauntleys range. I like the fact that they're in 50 cl bottlings, so it generally tends to sort of keep the costs down. But like I said, I mean, I don't know exactly what they're going to retail for, but you know, I would guess you're looking at sort of like what, 30, 50, 60, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, until I do crunch the numbers. I don't honestly know, but I'll certainly be getting these in, which will obviously please the rep that came to visit me. So well, you know, like I said, if you keep an eye on the website, they'll you know, www.gauntleys.com, they'll crop up there relatively shortly. And when I've managed to have time, I'll obviously add them to my WordPress blog. But for now, it's basically, well, I hope you've enjoyed this different episode of the show. Go get yourself some mezcal, and good running. Marble and towers tall, most in our world, and the skill jumps under near, going out to what we fear. Our future is predecided, come sight and subdivided.